What is your nobody will ever believe this story? By Credit.
I knocked a cup of coffee off my counter and caught it and no coffee spilled out of it.
Burn the witch.
Crouching tiger, hidden dragon over here.
One time when I was a teenager I was playing pool with friends. The pizza arrived or whatever and I took one last shot just as everyone was leaving and sank like 5 balls. It was the single best move I have ever made in any game I have ever played, but no one saw it and there was no way to take credit for it without sounding like a liar.
I miss playing pool in bars. One time me and 2 friends met a couple of haggard-looking biker dudes and asked if they wanted to play a game. One guy took a trick shot and imagined the white ball, 8 ball, and whatever ball he was sinking in a straight line in that order. Dude managed to make the white ball jump and skip the 8 ball and perfectly sink the colored one. Looking back at it, it's probably a really common trick shot, but to us young 20-somethings it was pretty awesome.
Was doing a service call at an equestrian farm. I went to the bathroom in the barn to take a leak. The door was slightly ajar and the light was off. I pushed open the door and hit the light only to see a goat dressed in a fleece vest eating toilet paper off the roll. He gave me this look like to say, "WTF are you looking at?" I turned off the light and left.
That's very on-brand goat behavior.
Oh yes. My goat paddleboards with me. While I was getting everything set up, he was busy cleaning up all of the littered maps around the grounds. Just doing his part thanks to his love of paper. None.
You had me at my goat paddleboards with me.
Orlando Bloom winked at me once when walking past. I'm a dude.
Heath Ledger was sitting in my seat on an airplane when I was about 13 on a family holiday. I knew him only from 10 Things I Hate About You at the time and it was my favorite film ever. He was in the right seat but on the wrong plane and jumped up and ran across the tarmac. Simpler time, small airport in Spain. No one ever believes me.
He was in the right seat but on the wrong plane and jumped up and ran across the tarmac. Are you sure that wasn't Tom Cruise? Jumping off a plane and running across the tarmac to jump onto another plane is something he'd do.
Except I don't believe Tom Cruise would be taking public planes. Gotta use those Scientology planes.
Definitely a lot better than my people wouldn't believe celeb story. Was in a bookstore once and my friend, being a huge Doctor Who fan, was looking at some Doctor Who books in the sci-fi section while I looked at Star Wars books. I came around the bookcase to see what he was looking at and I started saying how boring Doctor Who is. I then started roasting particular actors who had played the Doctor. Especially Colin Baker. I was ripping into this guy and how poo of an actor he is and overacted everything and was just the worst Doctor ever. My friend and I both looked up and standing where I had been standing 5 minutes before with this huge grin on his face was Colin effing Baker.
Did you ask him what his LFIC?
Nice.
I was once arrested for dueling. That was the charge.
Please. Details, sir.
He was charged being a 4th-rate duelist with a 3rd-rate deck.
Op username Growling Bear sounds like some 1200 at Poo Joey Wheeler would be stoked at about drawing.
I went after my best friend with a knife and he came at me. The cops pulled up after about 5 minutes. We took off. They caught us. Charged with dueling. He had F'd my wife.
Oh wow. Must have been a crazy night, man. What does dueling get dropped to? Assuming you pleaded out to lesser charges, that is.
Nope. Pled guilty to dueling. I did it. I wanted to go home. LOL, it was a misdemeanor. I got 40 hours community service.
Dueling isn't a felony? That's crazy, man. Well, I hope that snake you once called your friend isn't late to his blind date with Karma. If she, Karma, hasn't got around to it already.
It was the 80s.
The 1780s?
Ha ha ha, holy F, that was perfect.
40 hours community service isn't too bad, but on the other hand, he's now disqualified from holding public office in Kentucky.
Pardon me. Are you Aaron Burr, sir?
Mouthful of peanut butter A1BUWW. A1BUWW.
Hell of a commercial that you remember it 28 years later. I saw a bird unscrew a light bulb once.
Just one bird?
Yep. Just one. It worked at it for a long time.
Now I finally know how many birds it takes to change a light bulb.
100% where my brain goes to every time I hear a light bulb joke. Instant flashback to childhood.
Did it then do anything with the light bulb? Or the socket?
Short story, birds and sockets don't mix. Long story, I was 5 and we'd just moved to a new house. My mom had sent me outside to play while she unpacked stuff. The house had recessed can lighting under the eaves on the outside. There was a bird in one of the light fixtures trying to unscrew a bulb, presumably to build a nest or something, but it was in the fall. It was using its wings, feet, and body pressure to work the bulb around. I went inside like 5 times trying to get my mom to come outside to look, help me scare of the bird, help the bird or whatever. I was constantly met with the responsive, my name, birds can't unscrew light bulbs, go play. It eventually got the bulb unscrewed, but the bulb flipped upside down and blocked the hole on the light fixture. Unfortunately, birdie electrocuted itself. I went inside and told my mom well, it got it out. Then went back to play. She laughed it off assuming it was just part of a make-believe story or something. My dad came home, I pointed it out to him. He got the ladder, fixed the bulb and removed the body. Both parents were sad they didn't get to see a bird unscrew a light bulb. It never happened again in the 15 years we lived at that house. As a result, whenever my 4-year-old tells me I need to see something cool, I drop whatever and go look. Just in case it's a bird unscrewing a light bulb or something. LOL edit, I wrote this below, but whoa, this blew up more than I expected overnight. Thanks for all the karma and my first ever Reddit rewards. Adding it here, too. I thought I'd address some of the frequent questions /comments. 1. What type of bird? 5 Yomi was horrible at ornithology, but I believe it was some type of sparrow or starling, Midwest USA. It was not a corvid, but we did have a fun crow that would visit us that had been hand-reared by the neighbor across the field. Buck was a cool bird. This was 30+ years ago, and while I can't perfectly remember the type of bird, the scritchy sound of it working on the bulb is permanently etched in my brain. 2. In defense of my mom. She's an awesome mom. We had just moved 4 states away and our moving truck, that was a couple days late, had unloaded everything the evening before. My dad basically had to hit the ground with his feet running at his new job and was gone during the day. My mom was left dealing with a lonely 5-year-old and a surly preteen who had just moved away from their close-knit neighborhood with a lot of friends to the middle of the country in a new state with no kids nearby. It was a super stressful time for her, I'm sure, as she had also moved away from her friends and support system. As a parent now, I can't imagine how that felt for her. Plus, birds can't unscrew light bulbs, right? Smiling face with open mouth and tightly closed eyes, we laugh about it now. She's also really quick to drop whatever and check out things her grandkids think are cool. Even if it's just a clump of lint that literally looks like a dust bunny. I've made it very clear to my kids that if they ever see any cool poo to come tell me and I'll believe them. I've also told them if any aliens, time travelers, or heroes show up to please include me in the adventure. I've seen too many movies where the parents miss out.
That's a sad story with a wholesome ending.
Not for the bird.
I once threw the inside of a pen at least 9 feet clear across a room and skewered a fly that was annoying me. Legit, I felt like a ninja and have no way to prove it to anyone. Not gonna lie, it's probably my peak, and it's all been downhill ever since.
That's one of those things in life that the odds are so high of ever happening. Once I was partying with friends, we were on a ecstasy bender day 2. All the lights off in a dark basement. One friend asked us for a lighter. We couldn't see him, just the dark. My cousin, without trying, threw it and it landed perfectly in said friend's hand. It was unbelievable. Never would happen again in a lifetime.
Similar situation with the lighter. We were smoking in a small room and my buddy said, "Pass the lighter." Other buddy proceeds to throw a bullet right into the first buddy's hand. The weird part is they were only sitting about 2 feet apart and the first buddy did not even move his hand to catch it. Like he was resting his hand, half open on his knee when the lighter was thrown, and he did not move his hand at all. The lighter just disappeared inside his hand. Hard to explain, but me and someone else in the room were both like, did anyone else just see that? But the 2 guys who did it just played it cool.
I had something similar. Except I was lucky enough to have witnesses. I was also at a party, and was feeling pretty good. I chugged the last half of my beer and, like a drunk asshole, threw it over my head and behind me. It landed right in the trash. Everyone at the party was like, "OPOO." I felt so cool, LMFAO.
I saw a bee eat a piece of cheese. It was horrifying. I didn't know it was possible.
It was probably a type of wasp, not a bee. Wasps can, and do, munch up all sorts of things, including meat and cheese.
Bees will eat human flesh if they get desperate enough, but it has to be already dead.
How does a dead bee eat? A zombie bee. Zombie. FTFY.
There's a zombie on your lawn.
My ex, American, met him in the US, and my other ex, Dutch, met him 3 years later in Argentina, work at the same office in Amsterdam. They are colleagues. I found out cause I saw a FB post in which they were at the same office, 2 years after me and Dutchy broke up. And I still live in Argentina. Also, some years ago, I was in a relationship with a guy. We lived together in a tiny apartment. The relationship ended in a terrible way. 4 years later, I started dating another guy. He takes me to his house. It was the apartment I used to share with my ex. And let me tell you, Buenos Aires is a huge city.
You seem to have a type.
It's just the same dude wearing different disguises.
Here's a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Dutchy LOL.
Was lying in bed watching a movie and too lazy to move. Saw a small/harmless spider drop down from a thread on the ceiling, obviously heading for the far side of my bed. Even if it wasn't venomous, I didn't want to share my bed with it, but also didn't want to move. Not thinking it'd actually do anything, I reached out my arm towards it, but still quite a few feet away, and started waving my fingers at it in annoyance. To my absolute surprise, it immediately stopped its descent and actually retracted back up its line while I was sitting there in surprise. Took me a couple of seconds to realize that my hand must have looked like the most giant freaking spider he'd ever seen, standing on its back legs and waving the front 5 in the "F off or I'll wreck you" dance.
That is absolutely what spiders, or rather the tarantulas I keep, will do when irritated. Rear up, wave your front legs around and show you're willing to fight. That spider saw an Andre the giant-sized other spider going square TF up bro, and he wisely said no to that. Also, fun spider fact. They are all venomous. The degree to which it affects humans is usually very mild, except in some notable species, and the spiders mostly use it for digesting prey after injection. Very cool, you speak spider now. Some gifts we don't ask for.
The degree to which it affects humans is usually very mild, except in some notable species. I'm Australian, we pretty much specialise in the notable exceptions. This was some random little nothing speck of a thing, that provoked only annoyance and frustration rather than the reaction/emotions some of ours would. TBH, the entire experience was weird. It was the perfect quality of light to even be able to see what this little thing was doing, perfectly framed in a ray of light from the corner of my eye, and it was such a crazy long line for him to be dropping down from. I don't think I've even seen something like that first half of the story before, and then the ending where he retracts back up the line was so smoothly paced it was like he'd hit the up button of a piece of machinery, though I guess you could consider the spinneret like organic machinery.
I started out in the normal math class until my teacher realized I should switch to the advanced class because I got perfect scores on everything. We were just about to start the chapter about telling time when I made the switch. The advanced math class already knew how to tell time. I had all digital clocks at my house. I didn't actually learn how to tell time till I was about to start high school and thought I should learn.
Don't worry bro, I still can't sight read analog clocks. If I ever need to use one, I have to use my finger to point up to it and count the hours and minutes. I don't remember learning it in school and I missed some of second grade, so I guess that's why. I've tried to teach myself but it just never sticks, so digital it is.
Dang, that's wild. I can't imagine not being able to read a clock. Like in the way we can read words. It's amazing the stuff we learned that we don't fully appreciate.
I watched a kid on his bike get hit by a car. Somehow he got up like it was nothing.
Shock and adrenaline are a hell of a D.
I wonder the aches he felt the next day. Those are the worst.
This happened to my friend. He showed up to school with bloody legs like it was freaking nothing, and we had to bring him to the nurse's office to get him to just chill and not keep going throughout the day like nothing happened. Maybe you saw him /S.
I held a stick straight up in the air while pretending to be a magical creature, and then it immediately started raining heavily.
Do you still have the stick?
I don't know. I have several sticks in my room but I don't remember what stick it was or if it's one of the sticks I kept.
What magical things happened with these other sticks that made you start a collection?
Congratulations. You have successfully subscribed to Stick Pics.
I once left my house in nothing but a t-shirt and sweatpants in a suicidal manic depressive state, bought a pack of cigarettes, and told the universe that if it couldn't give me a good reason not to kill myself by the time I finished the pack, I'd do it. I ended up seeing Daniel Radcliffe smoking a rollie outside of a Starbucks. I offered him a real cigarette pretending to have no idea who he was. "Oh, no thank you," he said. "I much prefer the ritual of rolling my own." What I could have said was, "Well yeah, that makes sense seeing as how I are a wizard." What I did say was, "Hi, I'm Ftvo, what's your name?" Given my pact, and with nothing to lose, I unloaded all my emotional baggage on him right there. We ended up talking on the curb for half an hour. He asked me about my tattoos and listened to me recite Shakespeare. Eventually he touched my shoulder, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I know there's no good way to say this, but please don't kill yourself." He asked me some reasons why I don't. "Well, my cat, my mom, my brother." "Right, well, I'm glad the cat came first." Totally charming. Finally he announced that he was going to wander off. That way I'd left my house without my phone due to the nature of my pact with the universe. Having nothing but the cigarettes on me to distract me from my angst was part of it, and so made no attempt to follow him or to get his number. I went back to that Starbucks several times over the coming weeks to no avail. I still don't regret not trying to give him my number, though, as it would have violated the spirit of the pact. You can't get selfish with a gift from the universe like that. Bipolar people may understand what I mean. In any case, acknowledging his fame or getting all stalky would have broken the spell. None. That was years ago, and I haven't been suicidal in the same way since. Despite the good things about fame, I imagine a fair amount of celebs wish they could interact and be treated as a person instead of a celebrity sometimes, and it's quite possible Daniel Radcliffe is grateful for you giving him that opportunity. I'm also sure he'd be grateful to know that you're still here to write this today.
I read another story on here a long time ago of a woman who worked at a sporting goods shop that a bunch of famous people shopped at. Our DJ came in and she treated him like any other customer, with a pleasant conversation on a gift choice for one of his friends. The post said that he seemed really happy that he was able to have a candid interaction that didn't involve his fame.
I can totally imagine that. Imagine being so super famous that virtually everyone knows who you are. Every single interaction you have would be tinged by the feeling that they want something from you, whether it's a selfie, an autograph, a famous line from a role, or just to act like a famous person. It would be a huge relief when you got to have one of those rare interactions where they don't know you, and you're just two regular people talking with no expectations on either side.
He didn't want to take one of your cigarettes because he didn't want to drain your life bar.
You've just convinced me 99% that Daniel Radcliffe is actually some sort of god or superhero in disguise. I'm glad you're here to tell the tale though. Keep going strong.
Like a wizard or something?
Man, Daniel Radcliffe has some powers. Not quite as life or death, however I also had a run-in with Daniel that changed my life. The following is a true story that I have to share. 14 years ago I just starting dating my now wife. She was a massive Harry Potter fan, and we had gone on a holiday to New York. As we had no money, taking the Staten Island ferry seemed like a good idea, so we went across. On landing we realized there was not much to do, so ended up doodling on each other with an eyeliner. Daniel Radcliffe was in a play called Equus at the time in which he appears naked. So I drew a picture of a naked wizard boy on my girlfriend. We laughed and thought nothing of it. Later that evening we grabbed some beers and takeaway sushi and went to eat them in Central Park. As we were sitting on the top of some rocks we saw a person climbing the rocks in front of us. I looked at the face of the person and said, "That's Daniel Radcliffe." My girlfriend said, "No, it's not, I know what he looks like." We had a small disagreement and I decided to prove it was him. By the time I found him he was walking away, so I ran up to him and shouted, "Excuse me, are you Daniel Radcliffe?" To which he replied yes. I then explained that my girlfriend was a fan and he came and had a beer and chat with us. We spoke for about 20 minutes, and then he said he had to go for rehearsal for the play. Was amazing at the time and he was lovely, polite and interested in us as people. It was only afterwards did we realize there was a doodle of a wizard boy on my girlfriend's arm all the time we were talking to him. Anyway, at that moment I kinda knew she was the one for me, and 13 years later, a flat, a marriage, and our first baby due in a week, we are going strong. I've always felt that the universe created those events of that day to send a message, and I will always be grateful to Dan.
I love this story. Thank you for sharing, and I'm glad you ended up staying here.